This is not what I expected. I don't deserve this. This is not what I signed up for. So often after a first fervor in the faith, we experience difficulty. We experience maybe even persecution. We experience some catastrophe in our families, and we start to ask these questions. But are they really questions, or are they just complaints? This is not what I signed up for, Lord. I don't deserve this. I wasn't expecting this. We see this in our first reading with the Israelites. They're in the desert, they're suffering, there's no water. And so they go and they complain to Moses. They say, we wish we were dead. We wish we were like our brothers who died earlier before things got difficult. We see it almost projected by Peter when our Lord starts to talk about his suffering. Peter makes this great confession of faith. And then our Lord starts to say, I'm going to go and I'm going to be persecuted. I'm going to be mistreated. I'm going to die. And Peter says, no, Lord, let's not talk about those things. And maybe in that moment he was reminded, didn't he say something about the gates of the netherworld, the gates of hell? Our saint today was a pope, a successor of St. Peter, St. Sixtus. So you've probably heard in the Roman canon when we list all those saints, Linus, Clement, Sixtus. We're talking about Sixtus today. We're celebrating Sixtus today. And he was pope in the 50s, the 250s, 250 years after Christ. And when he was first elected pope, the church was in a pretty good position in society. There were wealthy people in government in Rome who were Christian. But there was a new emperor shortly after Sixtus became pope. And with a new emperor, you have new rules. And he started a persecution. So Sixtus was only pope for like a year, give or take. And he was martyred. He lost his head, literally, for the faith. And so we can imagine that when he was first elected pope, he had all kinds of plans. He had all kinds of ideas for how he wanted to govern as pope. And then immediately comes the persecution. And I don't know if he asked those questions or if he made those complaints. This is not what I expected, Lord. I don't deserve this. This is more than I can handle. But I do know that now he is experiencing the beatific vision. He is seeing God face to face. We've been mentioning this guy at Mass since he died, basically, for about 1,800 years. And he died along with some companions. They were all deacons. Their names are not well known, but they're doing the same thing. They're experiencing the beatific vision. They're experiencing the great reward of their sacrifice, laying down their lives in imitation of Christ, following in his footsteps, as St. Peter would later write, that Christ gave us an example when he suffered for us, that we might follow in his footsteps. And so now I like to imagine that in heaven, they're saying the same thing, but with a different tone. They're saying, this is not what I expected. This is so much more than I hoped for. This is so much more than I could ever deserve.